Do I regret Arlecchino? Yeah, nah. Nah, I don't think I do. Reason for that being is that she's still fairly good no matter what you do with her. And, yeah, let's just go over and look at her, right? Let's look at her. Yeah, this character is still as strong as she was. Stronger, actually, but she's still really, really strong. You can get a 3 million damage rotation out of her with a second rotation, right? Like, it's super easy to make this character look good, and because she is good. It's simple as that. She is, like, still top character in the game. When people are talking about the top DPSs now that Mavuika is released, it's really just Mavuika, Nevi, and Arlecchino. Those are the three that people talk about, because now it's just like, well, now we have three characters that gap the rest of the game, and it really does feel like that, especially with Seatlolly's release. There's not really much else. Like, these characters, these top echelon of character, DPS characters, just, they gap the rest of the game. It's as simple as that. It's not like, people want to ask me, like, oh, should I summon for Arlecchino or Mavuika? And it's genuinely like okay, whichever one you like more, I feel like, is the first step. Then do you have the, characters to build Mavuika on her best team? And if you do, then, well, yeah, Mavuika's gonna be better. But that doesn't mean that Arlecchino is trash at all. Like, it's not like Hu Tao. It's not like how Hu Tao was kind of just, like, absolutely worse than Arlecchino, basically. There wasn't really an argument to be made for, like, anything. Like, there's no argument you can make for Hu Tao better than Arlecchino. There isn't. It actually just does not exist. It's a fabrication of Hu Tao mains wanting Hu Tao to be better than Arlecchino. Arlecchino is just consistently better in almost every way than Hu Tao. Not necessarily the case between Mavuika and Arlecchino, but still, though, I do think that Mavuika is better, and honestly, I do have to say that Hu Tao, this character's power is way far beyond Hu Tao, and basically every other Pyro DPS character in the game other than Mavuika. Mavuika is the only one who rivals her, and there are still arguments you can make depending on what you value in this game more for Arlecchino over Mavuika, right? Because Mavuika does need those 5-star supports to outperform Arlecchino, whereas, Arlecchino doesn't. Personally, I don't really care about that much. Maybe you do. But honestly, this character is still usable on my account. Yeah, sure, I have Mavuika. Yeah, sure, she's, like, way better than I feel like whenever I'm using her. She just feels way better than Arlecchino because she just pops a 1.4 million damage nuke onto the enemy, and then they're practically dead from that, and then you do a couple charge attacks, and then they're gone. Whereas Arlecchino, it's sort of just a, okay, set up, do the normals, right? Everything goes smoothly with Arlecchino. You do your stuff. So I can't really say I regret this character. I mean, she still is going to carry me through whatever content I want. If I want to not use Mavuika one day because, she's really annoying me with maybe not melting or something. Because, like, yesterday, man, I don't know what it was, but the melts were just not happening. I don't get it. But, today, maybe it's different. Haven't had an issue with it today, but I mean, that's just not me not really doing showcases today. But yeah, overall, I mean, Arlecchino is still a great character. She has a really fun playstyle where you could just hit 500k attack. It's as simple as that. You just, stab them once, and that's like 500k damage. And it destroys any, like, issues. And, like, Seatlolly improved Arlecchino a lot, if I'm being honest. Like, if you used Arlecchino before, and you don't have Seatlolly, I feel like you should get Seatlolly. Because Arlecchino, especially if you have it more invested in Arlecchino, it's going to be way better than having, like, Fiorino on the team, right? Because 75% damage bonus is nice, but going from Vape to Melt as your main reaction, absolutely, you see the damage difference. Arlecchino is hitting, like, 300k on a good day with, Vape, and then she goes to hitting 500k on a good day with, Seatlolly, right? And also Seatlolly decreases the res, so she buffs all of her other attacks on top of that too. And especially with the high resistance enemies that are coming out lately, it's very useful to have characters like Shielonin and Seatlolly paired with Arlecchino. And that's the reason why I'm not really having issues with, Mavuika, right? And, many people want to, hate on her for the, having needing 5 stars. Arlecchino, I'm gonna run her on the same team as Mavuika if I can, right? Like if I don't want to run Mavuika, I'll run Arlecchino on the same exact team I run my Mavuika on. It is literally, there will be no difference other than Arlecchino will be there instead of Mavuika. And that is what it's gonna be. So Arlecchino is still able to do utterly insane damage numbers. I mean, you can run her on double Hydra with like Bennett or something, or maybe Kazuha. You know, it's a little tough for me because right now I don't really have a core team to replace Bennett. Like, I don't have a character who can replace Bennett, and that is the number one issue, right? Because Bennett increases Arlecchino's damage by a lot. You feel the impact of losing Bennett, and you can't really replace him unless it's like C2 Shieldon, but I'm using C2 Shieldon on my Mavuika team because Mavuika's way more fun to use when you're just buffing her to insanity and just letting her do her nuke things, and then she just clears a chamber in like a couple seconds, right? It feels like. Whereas Arlecchino, you know, you can run her, you know, without that sort of buffing, and she'll still do fine. She'll still feel great because you don't really feel like a huge decrease in her damage, right? You know, whereas, you know, Mavuika, definitely a slight alteration to her team, it's a pretty big damage loss. And, you know, for that correlation, it's mainly a take away Bennett from Arlecchino, and then you see that huge damage loss that you see a lot with Mavuika. However, I don't really know. I mean, that's just how it goes, right? I mean, if I take away Sealolly and Arlecchino's team, I mean, I will say, taking away Sealolly's and Arlecchino's team, you still do feel that damage loss. So maybe it's Sealolly and Bennett taken away from Arlecchino, and then you really start to feel it. You know, just taking one of them away off of the team, you really start to feel it. But overall, yeah, my main issue right now is that Arlecchino, I'm starting to run out of teammates for her because basically all the teammates I would have run with her don't happen anymore. Because like Shieldon was so great for Arlecchino, because what you do, you go in, you press her E skill, you go in with Shieldon, use your stuff, and then you would be able to completely have a great time with just using Arlecchino basically. And didn't matter who the other two teammates were, kinda ish. My Shieldon is C2, so she really buffs her. So she really buffed Arlecchino, and that kind of dynamic doesn't really exist anymore because I'm gonna be honest, Kazuha's just worse than Shieldon. There's no way around it. It's just worse, right? Kazuha did also want Bennett so you could, you know, swirl Pyro if you were using him with Arlecchino's team. However, you don't use him with Arlecchino's team anymore because you have Mavuika there. So it's like, I really would appreciate a new core team for Arlecchino at least. Maybe like some other characters, like, because I can run, you know, Yelan and Fiorina as like a double Hydro duo. But at the same time, I kind of would wish if, like, you know, we could maybe go ahead and get like a third slot that maybe gives like a, you know, something. I don't know what the third slot would give, but like it needs to do something, because like having Yelan and Fiorina, yeah, it's cool, but it's not really that much damage, right? Because you're not buffing Arlecchino directly, really, a lot of the times. And that's the main issue. Like Arlecchino, when she's buffed, she feels really strong. On a double Hydra setup, she doesn't really feel as strong, I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, Arlecchino is just kind of in a weird spot right now where she has a team. Like, it doesn't matter what team I give her, she'll perform well, but it will feel bad because I'm not using Bennett or like Sealolly with her, right? Like, none of those characters I'm using with her, and it's like annoying to start using, right? Because, you know, you're kind of just like all over the place with the team, which it doesn't really ever end up badly because Arlecchino's just that strong, but like it kind of is just like, it's not really like functional, like smoothly functional, right? It's kind of a team that just does whatever it needs to do at that moment in time, and then it works somehow. You like, you take 700 turns, but eventually you'll get to the end. Whereas, you know, you know, like her, you know, more premium teams were like just a straight line to like winning, right? You know, I don't know. It's a very interesting thing because, I mean, Arlecchino certainly, she's strong, right? The only thing I will say about Arlecchino is that, you know, you have to pay attention when you're playing her, right? That's one thing. It was never truly like a serious brain dead, you know, play style, unless the enemy was just gonna die just so fast, right? That they were just gonna die and, you know, we were gonna move on from that, right? Unless the enemy was gonna do that, there wasn't really a time where you had to like completely brain dead play style it. Because you do have to keep in mind, like, she will die. You have to make sure you have her burst ready whenever you need to heal. You have to make sure that you're not gonna, you know, get hit by too many times, right? Because, I mean, if you get hit twice, basically, this ability does, this ability, it just prevents you from getting one shot so you can use your burst to heal. That is what this ability is for. That's what it does. And it does it very well. Because a lot of hits that normal characters would die from, this prevents Arlecchino from dying, and she can go ahead and use her burst, or maybe you could really risk it and just keep going and try and kill the boss before it kills you. This ability is a really good ability for her to have, and I mean, I definitely, over the time I've had this character and over the time I've used this character, that is what I've come to realize about it, right? It just prevents you from dying. You won't be hurt that badly when you have it, right? So yeah, overall, that's my thoughts on Arlecchino. She's still really strong. Just right now, she's kind of in a weird spot because Mavuika's best team is Arlecchino's best team, and that's kind of hard to form. Like, I think now I probably will just end up using Zhongli for Arlecchino, and then I'd have to figure out a couple other characters because, I mean, like I said, not many other characters I could use. The one thing I have an interest in, let me find Kujosara real quick. Kujosara does buff the attack for 6 seconds. It's not bad. You just have to use her E skill, and then it, you switch in, right? So let's say you use Fiorina, and then Kujosara Zhongli. I mean, it might work. It might. But that's all up in the air. But overall, yeah, Arlecchino's still amazing. I like the character. I still do. I would have thought that I don't like her as much, but, I really do. Maybe I am an Arlecchino sim. I don't know. But, like, I still like the character a lot. And, if I was being honest, I am tempted to, summon on her banner. Maybe see if I can get some Chevy cons and possibly see if what happens with this, because, I mean, this will be fun to have, right? Extra 20% res, and then you got the 900%. Like, she is still a fun character to use, and I love the character. But, I have a new flashy toy that I can use who is already C2 now. I just got to wait for this, and this is going to be annoying. But, yeah, certainly it'll be fun. I'll have a lot of fun using both of these characters over the years. I mean, I imagine I'll be using these characters for a while, if I'm being honest. It's not like I don't think that we're going to see mega power creep towards these characters for a while, considering we're, I mean, nearly halfway through Natlan, right? And there hasn't been, like, serious Nevi power creep. I mean, you have Mavuika, but, I mean, there's still, like, I'm kind of, like, I'm on the edge of saying Mavuika's better than Nevi just from using her a lot, right? And Nevi is getting really, really poorly treated in Abyss lately because they clearly do not want him to continue being one of the best characters in the game. But I think Mavuika might legitimately be the best character in the game. Or not the best, but, like, you get what I'm saying. The best DPS, right? Overall, though, I do still love Arlecchino. There's no way I could ever speak bad about Arlecchino. She's still great. It's just like, if you have $100 and you get another $90, are you going to be upset? Right? Just think about it like that. That's what Arlecchino is the $90 and then, Mavuika is the $100. It's not like $90 is suddenly like, oh, this is chump change, It's not like that, right? These two characters very easily can coexist depending if, let's say Mavuika, they release an attack buffing character that is Natlan, and you can use them on Mavuika's team, right? That would get rid of the need for one of these two. Well, I mean, get rid of the need for, right? You don't even need Shielonen. Shielonen is here just because she works so much better with Mavuika, right? You could possibly, like, there could be a 5-star, character that comes out, buffs attack like Bennett, right? And all we need to do is have that happen, and to be sort of decent on energy. That is one thing. We need energy, and hopefully, we'll see that soon. But overall, but yeah, I mean, if they ever do decide to release a new Bennett character, it could very easily just be the end of, like, take Bennett off of this team. Even if he gives 1,000 attack, let's say all it needs to do is 1,000 attack for Mavuika's entire duration. It would be worth getting rid of Bennett on this team to go put on Arlecchino's team, right? It would legitimately be worth it because he's that good. And it's just like, and Mavuika, I prefer, all right, so here is what I have my philosophy on buffing, the strongest character and why I think it's important is because if you buff your strongest character a whole bunch, right, that makes room for a weaker character to have more time. If you buff the weaker character more, the weaker character will get their job done faster. However, it won't be as good as if you were to just buff the strongest character, let them finish it way faster, and then you get more time for the weaker character. Let's say you finish, like, buffing the weaker character ends up in less buff. You can't buff 100, like take $100, increase it by 50%, right? That's $150. Take $90, increase it by 50%. That's like, I don't know, $135, right? You're still, like, you're better off. You get better increases if you buff the stronger character, and that is generally my philosophy when it goes into making teams. I will give the strongest character the better team, so that way they can sit there and make up for, you know, whatever time that the weaker character may end up taking, right? Because they will end up doing it faster. Now, there will be a limit to that, and Mavuika may reach that limit. I mean, at C2, she's going to be just one-shotting basically everything, so is there really going to be a need to buff her that much? But overall, I would say I prefer to keep, you know, Bennett, right, on this team, right? Or possibly if they just release another character, you know, there is a, you know, Bennett buffing Arlecchino would end up being better, because, like, if 1,000 attack, you sort of keep Mavuika's rotation the same, sort of, right? I think Bennett would be better used for Arlecchino, because Arlecchino would get, like, a 300% increase to her team, rather than, you know, Mavuika would maybe get a, like, 20% increase, like, just something like that, right? Because Bennett would be such a big improvement onto Arlecchino's team, because she just doesn't have something like that, right? Whereas, you know, if you're running, like, Yoimiya, she's far weaker than, you know, Mavuika, so putting her with Bennett isn't really going to increase the time at all, right? Whereas if you put Mavuika with Bennett, you know, she's going to increase her time by, like, 30 seconds. You're going to end up, you know, finishing the entire chamber in 20 seconds or something. I don't know, whatever chamber you're thinking of. But, you know, that'll leave, like, what, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes for, you know, Yoimiya. That'll leave all that time for Yoimiya to do her thing, right? So overall, I mean, like, but when we're talking about Arlecchino, she's already, like, she has a good base. It's a lower base, but she also does not have a single, like, support that really transforms her damage beyond what is already on this team with Sheelan and Bennett, and, you know, you have Kazuha, but Kazuha, like we've already discussed, is kind of iffy to use on her, because if you use Kazuha and you're not on, like, Mono Pyro or something, right, you're gonna end up being, like, having issues, you know, because Furina, her duration lasts longer than Arlecchino, right? So you're gonna end up swirling Hydro, right? It'll work, but it's not gonna be very cohesive, right? So overall, that's my thoughts on Arlecchino, right? That's my thoughts on Arlecchino. I think she's still a great character. I still love her, right? She's very, very strong. Like, hopefully we do see some other attack buffer, because I do think that would be a very strong character, especially if, you know, if it's an attack buffer, that's a Natlan character. That adds even more variety to Mavuika's team. You know, that gives points to Mavuika, but I mean, that's just how I want to have things go. I like Mavuika. She's very strong. But, yeah, I do also like, you know, Arlecchino's gameplay. They're very different, which is good, because, I mean, if they weren't different, like, Hu Tao has charge attack gameplay, Linny has burst, you know, gameplay, where he, you know, pops his burst, does his charge attack on his bow, right? And then, you know, Arlecchino has her normal attacks, and then, you know, you have Mavuika doing a giant burst damage, and Yoimiya, she could do her own stuff, which, you know, it's bow, but, you know, it's our normal attacks of bows, which is kind of different, but it's also very single target. It's kind of mid-awful. Don't ever summon on Yoimiya, please. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy. If you really enjoyed, feel free to become a member, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.